Hello and welcome back to the Pharmaverse Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Pietrack. And if you're a leader or an aspiring leader in the pharmaceutical industry, well, then you are in the right place because we interview the best and the brightest stars from all different corners of the pharma universe. The Pharmaverse Podcast is brought to you by K. Bassman International, your premier recruiting resource in the life sciences. Also, we're sponsored by Executive Biotech Advisors, a leading consulting agency in the biotech and pharma arena. Today, we're joined by Miranda Toledano, the CEO of Entara Bio, and we're going to be discussing the evolving treatment paradigm for osteoporosis, leading with a type A personality, and finding work that you're truly passionate about. Miranda, I've been so excited about this. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Pharmaverse.
Thank you so much, Michael. I'm really excited about it as well.
Maybe we could start off with you just telling us about Entara and EB613.
Well, Entara is a biotechnology company that leverages on a proprietary technology platform, which we call NTAB for Entara tablets. And essentially, what we do is develop simple daily tablet formats of very important protein therapies. EB613 is our lead clinical candidate. It is specifically being designed to address the treatment chasm in osteoporosis. This is a disease that disproportionately afflicts women, about 200 million women across major geographies globally, where less than 30% of them have access to adequate osteoporosis treatments.
Hold on. So there's all these patients, very few of them are getting treated. What's causing the chasm?
You know, when you think about osteoporosis and you go to clinical and scientific conferences, really the key opinion leaders and the researchers at the forefront of the space are endocrinologists and rheumatologists. The reality, though, of the situation is that most patients are not treated at the endocrinologist and the rheumatologist's office. They're treated by their family care practitioner or also by gynecologists. And the vast majority are treated within the community of those doctors. When we look at access to billing systems and kind of back office systems for reimbursement, as well as the ability of those clinicians to dispense injectable drugs, it's very limited. And so what happens is really a treatment chasm where patients are referred to specialists that have the adequate billing systems and personnel to administer and kind of guide patients through injectable treatments, but they're lost in kind of getting to that next appointment. This is a silent disease also, so the current treatment paradigm is such that we know, out of the 10 to 12 million women that are deemed to have osteoporosis in the US, currently about 3 million are treated. We know that about 60% of them are on drugs called bisphosphonates, which basically stop the degradation of the bone, but they don't rebuild bone. Not surprisingly, these drugs are oral. And so we know that, at that stage when women do need to get on proper pharmacological treatment, they are accepting to get onto a bisphosphonate 60% of the time. When it comes time to take an injectable or an anabolic bone-serving a treatment, which is what EB613 is, it is the first oral anabolic or bone-forming treatment for osteoporosis. It's a much more difficult decision for both the fact that those treatments are all currently injectables requiring daily injections or a monthly 2 injections visit at the clinician's office. The combination of the injectable, their high cost, and most kind of primary care and gynecologists not having access to being able to dispense those medications creates a situation where, even though the guidelines medically are in full support of using anabolic drugs, they're used in a minority of patients. So we estimate about less than 15% of patients are taking these highly efficacious bone building or anabolic injectable drugs.
I don't know if it was something I read or you educated me about this, but osteoporosis patients, sometimes they don't even get treatment until there's a bone break. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a disease that has a significant under treatment, under diagnosis rate. So, for example, spine fractures, vertebral fractures, which are incredibly common, only one third of them are symptomatic. And so 2/3 of them you can only pick up really by doing an x-ray. So a woman or man could be walking around with multiple vertebral fractures
Mm.
that are completely asymptomatic, but basically they are really deteriorating the microarchitecture of their spine and weakening it. And then but that could go undiagnosed for years if x-rays are not administered. And then that same person, because their vertebrae has been impacted, when they fall, have a much, much exponentially higher rate of very dramatic consequences of just falling because these vertebral fractures have not been diagnosed in time. It is, though, a fact that many patients are screened via bone mineral density exams, which are simple X-rays. And a lot of women, as they start to lose estrogen during the menopause or going into menopause, do have baseline what's called bone mineral density (BMD) measurements taken as their estrogen levels go down. BMD since 1986 has been a standard diagnostic patient stratification and diagnostic tool, and that is how patients are diagnosed. They are diagnosed looking at the bone mineral density, and determining whether a patient has osteoporosis or simply is losing bone mass.
Understood. Okay, well, I really appreciate you explaining that because you live and breathe this whole thing, and not everybody's in this space. Tell me about Entera in EB613 as it relates to any recent good news or any upcoming milestones to be looking out for.
Yeah, I'm very, very proud to share with you that just a couple of weeks ago, on July 29th, we announced an unprecedented alignment agreement with FDA, whereby we are permitted to use BMD, what I just referred to, bone mineral density, as the primary endpoint for our planned phase 3 registrational study. This has been a long journey for us, of about 2.5, 3 years, with ongoing discussions, very productive discussions with the agency, and we finally secured alignment. We announced that pursuant to a Type A meeting, we are permitted, and this really is unprecedented because BMD is an approvable endpoint at FDA, but it's really been used historically in studies that are looking to increase labeling for already approved drugs. So for already approved drugs that had to use fracture studies, or in head-to-head bioequivalent studies where there's an active control. So we're really the first company that's allowed to use BMD in a placebo-controlled phase 3 for our first approval in osteoporosis.
That's really exciting, Miranda. And I know you said it's been a long journey, but I know for you and how hard you work, that's got to be so many hours that you've poured into this.
Yeah, it's been intense, but I think this is just, this is the beginning, right? So this has been 3 years in the making, and now,
Yeah.
we're continuing with the next levels of this mission. And we really just the point is to get EB613 back into clinic and hopefully enable its approval for millions of patients globally.
Well, we're all rooting for that, all rooting for you and Entera. Now, and you said something in our uh, pre-taping where you talked about, there's people that do good work and then there's people who build good teams. Can you separate that for us and explain what that means?
Yeah, I think that it really depends on the function. I think to be a good leader, I think you need both. I think that my personality is, I'm probably what's called an independent contributor. I'm very, very kind of want to know and go micro on every single aspect of something I get involved with. So, I'm involved, with Triggered or with Entera on every aspect of the company all day long. And I don't live, and I don't believe in silos. And I don't think, at least the way I operate, my mind operates, if I don't understand and I'm not up to date and on everything, I don't think you can run the company effectively. At the same time, you need to grow. So I think, identifying individuals that are really, really capable within their functional area and share common values, you need to be able to do both to build a sustainable company. So for me, I know myself, I'm always going to be micro because I can't help myself.
Yeah.
But and people know this about me. And my teammates, my colleagues know this about me. I don't see hierarchy. I schedule appointments and call, people. There's none of that really at Entera. But I think, when you're executing, like we're about to hopefully be in a place where we can execute this global phase 3 study, bringing on someone like Rachel Wagman, who, executed on, the clinical team at Amgen for 15 years, getting approvals for both Prolia and romosozumab, and then getting, 10 drugs approved at Myovant before coming to Entera. That type of execution and functional prowess and identifying the right people, not just someone that can learn on the job that's done something somewhere else, is critical, especially in a small company, and allowing Rachel to build her team properly.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's dive into that, not specifically about Rachel, but just leadership in general, because a lot of leaders that I talk to are type A personalities. You're maybe type A plus plus plus, as I've gotten to get to know you better. But with any different personality type, there's positives and negatives. And I can speak to the positives and negatives being a type A too. But what have you found it to be? How have you found it to be a benefit in your career?
I mean, I don't think anyone has a choice in their personality. You can only evolve and become better at the person that you want to be. But I think, for me, I think assuming what you're saying is true, it's a difficult question, but I think it drives, it's just this ability to just be singularly focused and driven and persistent and kind of not always looking for a different way to arrive at the goal and not giving up. And, for me, like I said, even though, I have functional domain experts and amazing advisors around me that I couldn't live without, I need to understand the whole picture. I am not a siloed person. It's difficult. It's unless I trust someone implicitly, it's difficult to delegate. So I think that this, what you call type A, is a driving force. It has been, my whole life. And so I accept it. It's part of who I am. And I think I'm grateful to be like that. It's
Yeah.
kind of allowed me to continue to do things. I think that have been, pretty special.
Oh yeah. I mean, your career is amazing. And, a lot of it is this drive that you have. And I love that you're such a hands-on leader, but still have the ability to delegate. That's where that's the position I'm in right now is I'm a very driven person and delegating is very hard for me. Any advice if someone else is having trouble with delegating because they're such a driver, hands-on person themselves that you could share with us?
I'm not the best person to ask, Michael. So I think I suffer from the same disease, and I think the only remedy is really to select people to work with, to be in your core team and your trusted circle that really understand you and get you, and they're gonna know that you're gonna stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning with them, side by side. And, that's just how it is. That's how Michael is. That's how Miranda is. Everyone knows it. But trusting them that, for example, that's your core team, but trusting them that, for example, if, person A that's running drug supply needs to bring in a technician, that you don't need to go to that level. Okay. Trusting them that, you're aligned and you're on the same page. But I don't think that I'm the best person to ask about delegation.
Yeah, either am I.
Honestly.
So don't ask me that question. Well, one of the things that's also symptomatic to the personalities we share here is finding balance. Because I like to dig deeply on everything and want to know, and I'm always thinking about the business and how to expand it, how to grow it, how to find the new niche. How do you personally find balance as a leader?
I mean, I wouldn't use balance as a word that would define my life ever. So I'm just gonna have to bow out because I'm not. I don't. When people talk about balance, I mean, I think my definition of balance is really making space for things that matter. So for me, what really matters to me is my family, my loved ones, and my missions in life. And my missions in life, a lot of that is my work persona. That's who I am. I can define myself by that. It's a huge part of who I am. But those are the things that matter to me. And the causes that I think are important, but like putting everything else aside, like for me, I focus on those kind of core elements of my life, like my family, my loved ones, my goals, and also not making space for things that don't let you evolve, not making space that don't give you positive energy, that don't drive you, that don't kind of get you, that don't embellish you, that don't teach you something. And so I think it's just choosing the things that really matter to you and waking up every morning and going to sleep and being grateful for the opportunities, but also learning from the challenges. And that's really important, but making space for what matters and knowing what doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well said. I mean, bravo. That was beautiful. And one of the things, and again, just aligning myself with you and trying to learn from what you're saying, one of the challenges is trying to hire people that are in the same ballpark when it comes to drive. Because I find myself, if someone isn't as driven or even close to as driven, either I drive them nuts or they drive me nuts. It's very hard to coexist there. Is there a trick for you when hiring to find out if someone has that drive? I'm
No,
asking
I
for
think I
myself.
think I think like with any relationship in life, if things are uncomfortable, they're wrong. It's just very simple. It's like basic principles. Like it's like in non, in friendships, in romantic relationships, when things are awkward and uncomfortable, you don't go to figure out why. Generally, it's wrong. I mean, at least that's my view. And it's the same with colleagues and partnerships and, your core team. And so for me, I think I've become good at identifying who's gonna get me and who isn't. And I think,
Yeah.
there's method to my madness, and I am very hands-on and all of these things. But I think, what really is important is having a match. So again, it's the combination of great talent, capabilities, and the passion and being really obsessed with what we're doing at Entera. Like if you're not excited, if you could be the best, clinical development person in the world, but if you're sitting on a Zoom, looking like this is a waste of time and we're boring you, it's just not going to work, right?
Yeah.
So it's about finding the right people that are also obsessed and driven by what we're doing. And I think, we're going to evolve, hopefully, if things, continue to go well. But everyone at Entera, I think, shares that common thread. And that's why, I think that's why we got to this unprecedented agreement, because everyone is kind of has both capability, but is also incredibly passionate about what we do.
Wonderfully said. Couldn't agree more. In fact, a lot of the leaders that I've interviewed on the Pharmaverse have had the same thing. When they're hiring, they try to align passion. They can know if the person is really behind the mission and they're a competent person in their function, that we're going to get some great things done. And in the same thing when I'm recruiting for companies, they want me to find people that are aligned with the passion. And so that makes a total sense. And I appreciate you bringing it out. Now I want to go full circle on your career. Think about that. You, 22 years old, leading a small team. What advice would you give to that person? Because a lot of the people watching our show are either in their first leadership endeavor and they're trying to glean something, or they're trying to break into leadership. What advice would you give to your past self?
Keep going. Whatever
About
happens, keep going.
oh,
Just keep going. It's like Churchill, right? Walk through fire. Just keep going. As long as you're deeply interested and feel rewarded by what you're doing, you need that, right? You need to choose. You need to understand yourself. You need to choose situations that where you're going to contribute professionally, contribute to society, contribute to your well-being, to fulfilling your missions, your goals, but keep going. Don't give up, whatever happens. Because I mean, I've had so many stories and setbacks and, things where I thought, oh, this is a complete failure. And it ended up being something that was for me, not against me. And I think when you grow up, when you have been around the block a few times, you realize when you look back on your life that it's elegant, and that actually what you think was, oh, this isn't what I wanted, actually ended up being a window into what is perfect for you. So just keep going.
great advice. And speaking of keep going, we're all rooting for Entera. Keep going, keep going. Hope the phase 3 program goes very well for you. If someone wants to follow Entera, how can they find out what's going on there?
Well, we're a public company, so we're traded on NASDAQ under the symbol of ENTX. We have a website, which we probably should upgrade. And I think that we're on social media. So we're on Facebook. We have a LinkedIn profile, and we have X, Instagram.
That's excellent. Well, I just want to thank you. And on behalf of everyone listening, so many great insights and so exciting to hear what Entera is doing. So thank you for being a guest on the Pharmaverse.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
That concludes another episode of the Pharmaverse Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the channel because we have many great leaders lined up for you with insights that will put your career into hyperdrive. But for now, that's a wrap. See you next time on the Pharmaverse.